What's up, everyone? It's Chicks in the Office with Rianne Fran, giving you that Friday energy on a Wednesday. This is obviously a Bachelorette recap episode, and we are going to get into all of that. But first, this podcast is presented to you by Dat Chat. You guys know that we've been absolutely loving Dat Chat. We go on Dat Chat during Cutting Stems. We have the Cutting Stems group. We also have the Chicks in the Office group. It's kind of like a forum. You can get your thoughts out there. You can also pick the amount of time you want your thoughts out there. So like you can pick a day, you can pick a few minutes, whatever it is. You also can't screenshot anything. You can't screen record anything. So if you want to private message somebody, you want to send some nudes out there, whatever it is that you're into, Dat Chat has you covered. So you can go to datchat.com/Barstool and you can find more info and you can download Dat Chat right now. We love Dat Chat. We think it's a lot of fun. You can really let the thoughts fly on there. And we love doing it during the Bachelorette, especially because we're talking about the episode live with you guys. And also just talking about things that are happening, whatever in our lives, whatever it is. You guys comment, we upvote, downvote, comment on each other's posts. It is a lot of fun. So once again, go to Dat Chat. That is datchat.com/Barstool to get more info.
It's the Bachelorette recap. No Trent. We're virtual Thanksgiving week. To be honest, I normally can tell you guys exactly where Trent is. I don't know where he is. Noah, do you know where he is?
I know they're golfing somewhere.
Oh, okay. So something.
It's a golf trip. It's a foreplay trip. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Or I think. No, definitely it's a foreplay trip.
I mean, he wasn't live tweeting or anything, so I'm assuming they're somewhere.
Where are they? They're somewhere.
Oh yeah, they're on a trip. They're golfing. There's the Instagram to prove it. The Dat Chat is funny though, because I feel like everybody does there were so many people being like, is Trent gonna pull Clayton's luggage? There was some funny moments. There was just some woman, I don't know, who had got to pull Clayton's
it wasn't pre-recorded and he would be there tonight.
Yeah. He's on call at all times, truly. But we're gonna get into the episode. There's a couple things that I want to touch on before we recap. It's honestly more than a couple.
Yeah.
Number one, because we don't have an episode on Friday and Monday. So I want to make sure I don't wait too long to throw this out there. One, Jonas Brothers family roast. We watched it. It was fantastic.
So funny. I am so happy you brought that up because in my head, I was like, I hope she says the Jonas Brother family roast. The Jonas Brother family roast right off the bat had me giggling. I texted you. I think we started around this. I texted you. I was like, did you watch it? You're like, not yet. Then 10 minutes later, you're like, all right, I'm watching it. And you were like, I'm giggling right away. I was giggling. They are so funny. They're really such a funny family. Pete Davidson, I know we talk about him a lot. He's just always around. He's just so fucking funny. He really is. Sophie Turner, awesome.
Yeah, Pete was really funny. I really liked his Frankie Jonas. For those who have watched it, because if you haven't watched it, I don't want to give too many of the jokes away, but highly recommend, even if you're not really that much of a fan. It's very entertaining. John Legend's song, so catchy,
so funny,
so catchy, so good. Sophie was so good, and what was I gonna say? There was one other. Sometimes I will say, out of the brothers who towards the end all roasted each other, I thought Joe did the best. Shocking, not shocking. Joe's always been the funniest one. And I don't know what it says that almost every single person made a joke about Nick's ego. That's clearly his thing. Every single person made a joke about how much Nick Jonas loves Nick Jonas, even Priyanka. So
and you even hate it.
No, love every second. Loved every goddamn second of it. I thought it was very funny.
I almost feel bad because Kevin is Kevin and we love Kevin for that. But you can tell that Nick and Joe are oh, Kevin, with his jokes, that you could tell that they just don't think he's funny and they're laughing because they feel bad. Another note, Kenan Thompson doesn't have it anymore. I think that Kenan Thompson is stuck in the Nickelodeon, all that Kenan and Kel days. And then he went from that to SNL. And it's his humor. He didn't go straight from that to SNL, but his humor has not grown up with him. He still has the Nickelodeon humor, in my opinion.
He's been on SNL for a fucking really long time.
I know. And I feel his humor is just kind of cheesy for me. And obviously as a kid, I loved Kenan Thompson. I loved Kenan and Kel and all that. But it's just a little too, it's not like, I don't want to be like, oh, grown up humor, but like it's just a little cheesy for me.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? Boy, do I wish I got invited to that. Like, they showed Wells and Sarah Hyland were just like in the crowd. They were sitting close to Kevin Jonas Sr. And it was just like, damn, that's just something you can do when you're famous. You hear something's happening and you're like, I want to go to that.
Why do you think Frankie Jonas wasn't there? That confused me.
I don't know. School.
He couldn't miss school for the family roast?
I don't know.
I found it a bit strange.
I feel like he obviously puts himself out there on TikTok, but I just feel like he doesn't, I don't know, like do stuff with the Jonas Brothers. Like it's like he lives his own life, independent guy. Mm-hmm. Number 2 on the list of things. Grammy nominations came out. Very happy for Olivia Rodrigo. 7 nominations. That's a ton. That's really all I had to say about that.
Very cool.
Very cool. A good list. I did see some people. Miley Cyrus was upset. Machine Gun Kelly was upset about the Grammy nominations.
MGK gets upset about everything, it seems.
Yeah.
You know what I watched last night for the first time in a long time?
What?
The Dirt.
Yep.
Oh, I have not watched that in a while.
Haven't watched it in a while, and I was like, I want to watch The Dirt right now. And let me tell you, I still love Douglas Booth as Nikki Sixx. Like I was like, it's been so long since I watched it that I was like, are my feelings still going to be the same? They are.
Douglas Booth also connected to Miley Cyrus for those who watched the movie LOL.
Yes. Yes,
movie.
Indeed.
Number 3. Tayshia and Zach are officially over. We just got to accept that. That's a thing. They haven't put anything out on their own social media, but one of Tayshia's reps did confirm it to people that they have ended their engagement. Doesn't feel like it's gonna go any further than this. It's kind of the same what I said on last episode. I just think they want different things out of their life. And like, I think maybe they thought they could meet in the middle somewhere. I don't know if Zach knew how fame oriented Tayshia is in a way, not like fame oriented, but like, I think she wants to live in, I think she just like wants to live in the reality TV world.
And that isn't a bad thing, but
no, I'm not even saying it in like a negative way. It's just like, that's how she sees her life. And I don't think he sees his life like that. So yeah, you're not going to get married when you see each other a few months out of the year.
Yeah, I agree. I think that I feel like I kind of saw this coming. Although it is shocking, it's not shocking at the same time. You mentioned on Cutting Stones.
Cutting Stones.
What show am I talking about? You mentioned on Cutting Stems that, Tayshia was on Paradise dating John Paul Jones, and like you just knew that she didn't really like John Paul Jones. And it's not bad that she wants to be on reality TV and wants to be known and wants to be famous, but that's just not Zach's cup of tea. Yeah. And the narrative, you also didn't like this. You don't like the narrative that Zach C's fault and that he's a bad guy, because now these articles are coming out, TikToks are coming out that paint Zach C in a bad light. And I want you to say the point that you had about Tayshia having people and Zach not having people.
I just think that I saw this article like from The Sun and all these, it's the tabloids and stuff, but it's like sources say that there was a bunch of problems and it blew up recently, but Zach's just been a little bit too controlling and jealous. And it's just like Zach's people are like the people he works with, like his friends, the folks in Haddonfield, New Jersey. Like he doesn't have sources talking to the press, putting stories out there.
Honestly, you might be the closest thing he has to. Like,
I know.
You might be his fucking PR right now.
I might be it. I truly might. And, Tayshia's got a whole team of people. So it's just something that's like, any narrative that comes out in the press about them in the next few weeks, I feel like is just going to be coming from Tayshia or Tayshia's people, Tayshia's reps, Tayshia's sources. And, that's all right. It's going to keep being sad because like we watch Tayshia on TV and get reminded about it now. And it's just like, oh God, I just, had high hopes. And somebody posted a clip of his proposal again I saw it on Twitter. It just made me sad.
I'm not too torn up about this because I don't believe in love coming from the Bachelor or Bachelorette anymore, unless it's Bachelor in Paradise. Like, I think that the Bachelor in Paradise is the most successful one out of all of these. And also, if you met off the show, like Caitlyn and Jason, I'm rooting for them. I believe in their love. Hannah and Dylan, I fully believe in their love, being around them. Like, being around both those couples, I could truly feel it. I just can't say that I was like so buying Zach and Tayshia's love story.
That's fair.
I'll say this. I was buying Zach's love story.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was not buying Tayshia's love story for Zach.
I get what you're saying.
I could feel that this man is not a fame-oriented person. It's not what he wanted out of this. He really, somebody signed him up to find love. And I feel like he genuinely had that for Tayshia. And I'm not saying that Tayshia didn't love him too, but it just felt always more genuine on his side.
Yeah. And I just think they just clashed at the end of the day when it came to like actually sitting down and talking about real life, which is totally
not meant to be.
Sure seems like Matt and Rachel are doing well. Like they're all over the place as far.
I'm rooting for Matt and Rachel, actually. They seem great.
Yeah. Okay. Number 4, before we get into recap. And it's still Bachelor oriented. It's just a whole big Bachelor episode. Katie and her 12 days of messy ended with number 12, begin again with John, who was a contestant on her show. I love John. I think he was great, super cute, seemed like a sweet, sweet man. And they've been friends since the show. We've seen them hanging out. They've been hanging out with Blake. They even hung out with Blake. Like, done all this thing. She moved to San Diego. He lives in San Diego. And now I guess Katie and John are dating. This was like this big reveal to Begin Again by Taylor Swift. Just could not be more extra.
Let my thoughts fly on this one. Let me fly. Because this really got under my skin because from Matt James's season, I had a bad feeling about Katie. I did not love Katie. I really was like, everyone's like hyping up this woman. They're like, oh my God, she's tattletaling on everyone. Why don't we just fucking praise her? And I didn't love that. But as soon as I said that, people were like really coming after me like, Katie's the best. What's wrong with you? How could you say something like that? So obviously you get like sometimes bullied into other people's opinions that like make you think a certain way. So I was like, okay, let me open up my mind to Katie. And also like, she didn't seem that bad. I just wasn't crazy about her. I wasn't like, I hate this person. I just not totally crazy about her. I don't love her vibe. Fast forward to now. Okay. Justice for Blake Moynes, because not only did she announce this like 3 weeks after announcing her breakup with Blake, this is somebody she hung out with often with Blake. Like her, Blake, and John were like a threesome, like besties hanging out. And I get like you can't help who you like, right? But why couldn't John and Katie wait it out? It was more so the way that they went about this that is so disgusting rather than like what's actually happening here. You know what I mean? It's like the 12 days of messy and then posting this video in which you pointed out the video she posted of him in the plane. Blake was there. How do you add a video of John, the man you're dating now, with your ex-boyfriend being in the video? Like, it's very skeevy. And I really just don't like the way she went about this. I feel like why did her and John feel like they had to let everyone know immediately? Like it's been 3 weeks. And does she not think that people aren't going to think there was an overlap? Of course, everyone's going to think they're an overlap. How did you fall in love with this man in approximately 3 weeks from the last time you broke up with Blake? Obviously, you had feelings for John when you were dating Blake. That is so clear. Otherwise, you guys wouldn't announce this relationship that fast. Things don't just happen that fast.
Yeah, that really I also broke that news on Cutting Stems. That
It was nuts. It was so nuts.
That video, the plane comes from a trip. They were on the plane and Blake's literally next to her because it's actually in John's highlights. He has like a little plane highlights on his Instagram, and it's 9 weeks ago. It says a little 9W, and it's him in the front, another girl, and then Katie and Blake in the back. On November 11th, Katie posted Instagram.
What is wrong with her? What is wrong with her?
At Taylor Swift. Then she wrote this. The whole I don't know, man. But
it would be like if like Olivia Wilde had a picture with Jason Sudeikis and Harry Styles and just cropped out Jason Sudeikis when they like first started dating.
Yes, it's crazy. It's like it wouldn't even be as bad if, say, Katie and John started hanging out right now alone and people started spotting them together. And it's like, oh, Katie's seen with John a lot. Is something going on? Is something not going on? People really wouldn't care that much. They would just be like, oh, maybe she's seeing John now. It was the way that she posted this video that was disgusting. Like, I think that's my biggest problem with it is the announcement of her dating John rather than her dating John.
Yeah, it's for sure.
And also any other guy from her season, like she dates any other guy from her season, fine. That she didn't hang out with Blake. Like it's the way how it all goes down is like.
No, and I agree with you. It's less the like, oh, she's dating John, because it's like, wait, you want to date John? Go ahead.
Right, like if you like John, you like John.
Very over the top 12 days to get to 12 to make this big John announcement.
Also, 12 days ago would have been only like 2 weeks since you broke up with Blake, and you were already planning.
12 days ago was November 11th when she posted a picture on Instagram of herself with the caption "Begin Again Taylor Swift."
Like, is she out of her goddamn mind? Like, the fact that she thinks it's crazy that anybody would think that there's an overlap. You clearly liked John when you were dating Blake. That's just the way it is. That's how the cookie crumbles. And if she said, hey, I'd rather talk about this all episode than the recap. If she said, hey, you know what, guys, I was dating Blake and suddenly I started falling for my best friend, I think people would respect that more. I think people would be like, Katie, sometimes you fall for your best friend. You can't help that. Love is love. You love who you love. But it's the whole announcement. It's the way
it's just, and of course, like Bachelor Data once again posted a timeline on their Instagram, but it's just like the dates are all so close together. It's so close together. When late September, Blake goes back to Canada. Katie hangs out with John and some more men from her cast October 12th. Katie and Blake break up October 25th. October 27th, Katie posts a picture of John's dog. November 5th, Katie shares a letter from someone who sent her flowers saying, these are not romantic flowers, these are happy flowers. I want you to be happy. November 8th, Katie shares a picture of the first time she saw John after filming. And then November 12th is when she started the 12 Days of Messy. So it's like but the way she captioned that picture was like, you knew that this was the way it was going to end. So it's all very, very close together. I would also like to read two of the comments that Miss our queen, Emily Moynes, liked on Instagram, which, Emily Moynes.
I wish I had Emily's number.
I know. I was just DMing her about Tayshia and Zach.
Maybe Trent is with them right now.
No, maybe.
You think Trent's with Emily?
Yeah. They're consoling Blake.
I was talking to Emily about Tayshia and Zach, and who knew that this was happening? But she liked a comment that said, one comment said, me too. I feel like it was probably her who initiated the split. Sad face. He was probably all in. She liked that comment. And then the other one she liked was, nah, this is terrible on Katie's part. I feel truly sorry for Blake. In any relationship, you put a sense of trust in one another, especially long distance relationships. There's no denying the dishonesty and deception for months upon months. Oh, ooh.
I just felt the fake vibes. I really did.
Yeah. And like, this is
The
the thing
Moines deserve better as a family.
Yeah. And everyone, like, if John is her happily ever after, I'm very happy for her. It's just the way you go about it, the way, like, it's all happening so publicly. Like, why even make this?
That's what I'm saying.
I guess
That's
maybe
the
want to
important
be
part
like,
to note.
she like wants to live her life and be seen with him and like whatever. But you could get away with going a few months with being seen with him and people not thinking that you're dating, because you have been friends for so long and have been made it like abundantly clear in the past few months that like they were just friends, and now all of a sudden they're not just friends. So yeah,
Right.
that was what a move. What a move.
And I think that's important to note, is that, like, I think everyone feels that way. Like, if they like each other, they like each other. But did you guys have to do it like this?
Yeah. Yeah. I think Blake unfollowed her on Instagram. I don't know if he had already done that like weeks prior, or if this was fairly recent, but yeah, now the rumors, like I feel like some rumors about Blake potentially being the Bachelor, which I love you, Blake. It's time to hang it up, I think.
Don't do it, man. Just don't do it. He's gonna do it if the opportunity presents itself. We know he'll do it, and we'll support him. But just don't do it. Find yourself a nice lady, maybe in the franchise, maybe outside the franchise. Doesn't matter. Just don't go back on the show. People like you right now, and they're rooting for you because of this. So don't fuck it up and go be the Bachelor. Don't do it.
And number 5 to close it out. This really is to close it out. We have Hannah Brown on this episode as well. We have a great interview. Her new book, God Bless This Mess, is out now. You can read it. I highly suggest reading it, because if you follow, like, if you're checking Us Weekly or Page 6 or whatever, there's been like 50 Hannah Brown headlines in the last few days, all from stories from her books. We read the book. It's juicy.
It is so juicy. You guys got to read it. Honestly, like, we always talk about these people's books. They come out with it. It's like, oh, they're going to reveal stuff. Hannah actually does. And it's really good. And you also, not only is she revealing juicy stuff, she reveals a lot about her life in general that you wouldn't know otherwise. Some pretty serious stuff. So I recommend everyone buying it.
Yeah, for sure. All I'm going to tease is she put her last text message from Tyler in there, and it's a doozy.
Oh yeah, it's a big one. You guys are going to want to know that one.
It's a doozy. All right, so let's get into our recap time. It's recap time for The Bachelorette. But before we do that, the holiday season can put a lot of pressure on your mental health. You know, you're talking to family members you haven't seen in a while. They're asking questions about your life. Even this is just a time where people, you know, it's like you're reflecting. You're thinking about your year. You're thinking about things you can change. You're thinking about things you want to do in the new year. Well, one of those things should be therapy. Therapy is fantastic. It's a way to keep your mind in check, in tune. Think about it. You get your cars tuned up to prevent bigger issues down the road. You get annual checkups. You go to the gym to maintain physical wellness and prevent injury and disease. You do chores regularly to make sure, you know, your house isn't a total giant mess. Think about therapy in that exact same way. It's routine maintenance for your mental and emotional wellness to prevent bigger issues down the road. And that's why Barstool has partnered with BetterHelp. BetterHelp is therapy made easy. It's customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. So why invest in everything else and not your mind? It's also great, you know, Barstool does agree with all of these things. They've offered BetterHelp services to all their employees as an added benefit to help take care of our overall well-being. So when we're feeling the need, we have it right there. So I really, really cannot endorse BetterHelp more. Therapy is so, so great. The podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp, and our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/office. That's BetterHelp.com/office. This episode of The Bachelorette was completely driven by Michelle's 5th grade students, or so we were made to believe, that they were planning every date. These cute, adorable kids who honestly would love to they should just put kids on every episode. It gives great perspective. Just need some kids to be like, this guy, I don't like him. This guy, I like him. plain and simple. They tell it how it is. And they got to meet all the guys to pick one of them for a one-on-one. They picked Clayton. He was by far the best with the kids. I know Nick Viola kind of teased that. He had said, the producers, I'd heard that he's like really great with the kids or something. I don't know. And it's exactly what happened. There was nothing more, nothing less. He's good with kids. He built a fort for them and he got a one-on-one date for it.
And now he's the Bachelor. And the way that they sold this man as the Bachelor was like he had the cure for cancer and he was going to unlock it on the new season of The Bachelor. They're like, this man's special. He's different. Clayton seems like a nice, hot guy who's an ex-NFL player, just like every other person that's been on this show. There's really nothing crazy that we've seen yet. Yes, he seems like he's great with kids, and kids clearly flock to him. Not exactly sure that means like you are going to be the greatest Bachelorette ever. Like the Bachelorette isn't focused on kids. It's focused on adults. So it's a little confusing here. Obviously, that's you get married, have kids, whatever. But it's not like the show is him hanging out with kids all the time. Like, that's why I'm confused by this, but he seems like a nice guy, good looking guy, charismatic, but not sure where like we must have this guy as the Bachelor came in from.
Yeah. Somebody, I forget what guy it was. But one of the guys from this season posted on Instagram, like about the episode tonight. It was like, can't wait and the captain said something about like Clayton's moment. I was like, this is Clayton's moment. But yeah, they had a very cute date. It was basically night at the museum, did this planetarium. It was very romantic, but at the end of the day, you could kind of feel like the friend vibes. And Michelle also felt that. She's like, I really like Clayton as a person. He seems like a great guy. Like, I hope he finds love. I want that for him. I just don't think I'm the woman for it. So she sends him home while they're having dinner. And yeah, like we still didn't quite learn that much about Clayton, the person. We just kind of saw him be sweet and charming. And he does seem like a very nice guy, but we still don't really know much else about him. I guess we'll learn about it on The Bachelor. They had this whole, it felt very staged. I'm now convinced that they flew these kids back out to somewhere to refilm this end part of the date. Like, it was like him being sent home, but he said goodbye to Kelsey and Luke, the two little kids, and they left him notes like, so sorry he didn't end up with Miss Young. He starts crying. He's crying in his interview saying he just wants love and a family. And it's the perfect tee up for being the Bachelor. Like, it's the perfect, like, give the guy who's crying about wanting love and a family to be the next Bachelor. Normally that's what happens on the Men Tell All or the Women Tell All. And then that, that's their audition tape. We saw it all right there in this episode.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we'll see on The Bachelor. Like, There's really not much else to say about Clayton because we did not learn anything about him. He likes kids.
Yeah. That's pretty much it. So Clayton's our next Bachelor. Michelle sends him home. No hometown for him. We're going into hometowns. Pretty wild. It's happened fast and slow somehow at the same time. I feel like because every episode, Michelle is just so methodical in sending someone home. Like, as soon as someone messes up, it's like, see you later. You're gone. You're gone. You're gone. And now it's like, oh shit, we're going into hometowns. Like, is anyone in love? I don't know. We're not really hearing about it. It's like, I know it's probably the most realistic thing to not have all these guys be like, I'm in love. I'm in love. I'm in love. But normally that's where we're at when we're going into hometowns. And that's not what's happening quite yet.
I know. I also said this, and we'll get more into it later. It's like, we do see some of them say like, I'm in love with you. And it's just like, whatever happened to like, I really like you. I'm really, cause like, they don't know each other that long.
Yeah. I'm actually, I've been talking about it, but I have been rewatching One Tree Hill, and I've moved on. I think the last time I talked about this, I was like season 4. I'm season 6 now. I'm churning along.
I actually really like season 6.
I love season 6. I love season 6.
You know my favorite guy? My favorite guy in One Tree Hill?
Who? Oh, Clay.
Clay. Yeah.
Yeah. You love Clay. But it's like when Julian too early on says to Brooke, like, I love you. And Brooke's like, I like you a lot. And it kind of like fucks up with their relationship at the beginning because he kind of says it too early. Feels like kind of relate that to what happens on this show. But
it's almost like what else you have to like look forward to, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying there's nothing to look forward to, but like if you say I love you too early,
right,
then you got that out of the way. But like there's kind of a fun like, when are they gonna say I love you?
So the group date that they go on is it's at a farm. Once again, these are 5th grade dates. We're picking out 5th graders picking the dates. It's all the guys except for Brandon. So he got the 1-on-1 date. And they're on a farm. They're milking cows. They're churning butter. They're having a nice time. The guys really wasn't too eventful there. The whole big story of the group date, besides I would say like Nate saying he's falling for her, was Martin. Martin clearly says one thing to Michelle and something different to all the other guys. And Olu heard him talking about, Michelle's quote unquote childhood trauma that she has not worked through. And it's immature of her that she has not worked through that yet. And, she keeps having misunderstandings of their conversations. And Olu's like, not on my watch. He goes and tells Michelle, thank God, because this guy, forget it. And then he just kept lying to Michelle, like trying to come off like he didn't say all those things when he did. He said them.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't realize how much Martin sucked until tonight. And then it really hit hard. This guy is a true asshole. And I think it was the way that he left because Michelle sent him home and was like, all right, get out of here. The things he was saying in the car home were disgusting. He was like, a girl like that doesn't deserve my time. What do you mean a girl like that? You mean an amazing girl doesn't deserve your time? Yeah, because you suck. That's why Michelle could do way better than you. Yep. And you don't deserve her time. Like he just was gross.
Yeah. It just kept adding up, right? It was like, oh, he's friends with the other guys that have been jerks and he's talking behind their backs. And there's all these like little red flags that kept piling up. And she knew it too. Like she said, I've been having some issues with Martin for sure. And so as soon as this happened, it was like clear as day, get this guy out of here. And so when she sends him home, he gets into the car and he decides to like talk shit about Michelle. No, thank you. He got on Instagram and, posted a Instagram caption where he obviously turned the comments off. And it was like this long poem. It was like of just, the show and we only see so much of it and things are edited. The whole classic, the classic when you act like a jerk on this show and then you go on social media and say, well, it's an edited show. It's like it's only the guys who look like jerks who say that. Yeah. Who say that. And yeah, of course, can some things be taken out of context from time to time? Yes. But we literally watched you sit in the car and say out loud, like, a girl like that doesn't deserve my time. You clearly said it. We saw it. So even if everything else, he had a defense for everything else, I would still hit him for that one line because that's bullshit.
He left a really bad taste in my mouth, Martin. I mean, we never were big on him, but after this, I was like, see you later. No regrets on having you leave here. Like you really do suck. He just sucks. And he's not like the worst person ever be on this show, but he sucks.
Yeah. It was really, you said it best, left a bad taste in your mouth for sure. I agree. Did not like that at all. And on the flip side of that, Nate got the group date rose. So that locked him in for a hometown date, which not surprising. Those two have always had a strong connection. And then the last one-on-one date was with Brandon. But before we jump into that,
obviously, you guys have heard us talk about it before. We just wrapped up our first podcast tour, and it was presented by Sling. And we love Sling. I've said before, I have Sling in my backyard at home. It's a little cold right now, so I'm not necessarily watching too much TV out there. But sometimes I got heaters out there. Sometimes I'll turn on the heaters by my couch, a little fireplace action, not fireplace, fire pit, and throw on the TV. And we got Sling. Anything that you can watch on cable, you can watch on Sling. And they also have the Barstool Sports channel on there as well. So all the shows shows you love from Barstool, you can watch on Sling TV. You can also watch our favorites like Bravo, E, MTV, all those prime time channels. Sling has got you covered. So, forget cable. If you don't want cable, you don't need it because Sling has you covered right now. It's easy to get, it's easy to use, and there's no contracts. So starting at just $35 a month, if you sign up now, you will get your first month for just $10. So go to sling.com/barstool to sign up now and get your first month starting at $10. Guys, this is a steal. You don't have to pay for cable TV with Sling. Get Sling at sling.com/barstool.
Brandon is just like a little jumping bean. He's so excited to go on this date. And Michelle's like, they're eating ice cream. By the way, massive ice cream cones. Did you notice that? That was my first giant. It's like 4 scoops.
Mm-hmm. I actually had ice cream tonight too, which I was happy about. I was eating it while it was happening. I was like, thank God, because I would have wanted ice cream immediately.
Yeah, as soon as you see that on TV, it's like, shit, I need ice cream. I thought that. I
had ice cream in between churro waffles.
Damn.
Really good.
Damn, that sounds amazing. But Brandon, back to Brandon.
Sorry.
We're excited for this date. Michelle takes him to her house. She's like, this is where I grew up. This is my house. And don't worry, my parents aren't home. Don't worry. Parents aren't home. Don't worry. Parents aren't home.
They're away. The kids will play.
Said it like 6 times. And then it's like, let's go in the pool. Let's go in the hot tub. Here's a pair of my dad's swim trunks. Put them on. No big deal. They're sitting in the hot tub. They're making out. And boom, in comes, who'd have thunk it, Michelle's parents.
So uncomfortable. Wildly uncomfortable. They did Brandon dirty on this one. You don't want to be caught making out with a girl in the hot tub and the parents come home. Feels like high school. They did Brandon dirty on this. Obviously, Michelle's parents knew what they were walking into. They're great sports. I love Michelle's parents. But the whole thing was kind of uncomfortable. And then they go into the conversation with Michelle and Brandon. They're sitting there. And I just had a thought in my head that was like, I could never have a serious conversation with the person I like with my parents about why I like this person and why they're special. I just can't do it. Like, I was like, oh, well, props to these two for like letting their feelings fly, because I just can't do it.
To be honest, I really think like my favorite part of this entire episode was Michelle's mom talking about how her dad has always put her first and fought for her and like it was just so sweet. I was like, these two are so cute. And I feel like Michelle just wants to love like her parents, and she is really aiming for that. But yeah, 100% Rhea. It's like, not only that, it was like, he's just meeting these people. And of course, if he does make it, far enough, he could meet them again and talk to them again. But this is pre-hometowns, and he's already like, hey, can I have your blessing to marry your daughter? It just feels like Brandon might be just a little in over his head right now, where he feels like he is in this relationship. He does seem all in, which is great. And you have to be when you're on this show. But I just feel like poor Brandon's going to get his heart broken, because like Brandon is definitely going up and up and up, and it's going well, but it's still like Joe and Nate way up here. And even though Brandon is still climbing, he's still below Joe and Nate.
Friend zone vibes for sure for Brandon.
Yeah.
Michelle may like or love him as a person, but he's not in love or lust with Brandon.
Yeah, it just feels like best friend vibes. I don't know like what it is, but from the beginning I felt that from them, which isn't bad. And I think a lot of bachelorettes are way more inclined to keep that kind of person around longer, because women like you, I just think we're the superior species. But it's just like, you are looking at the guys and you're thinking like, okay, I really, really like this guy as a person. Maybe the chemistry or the romance will come as we grow, and then you wait and see. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. Because like, it's like the guys that you have the steamy, sexy chemistry with right off the bat, after a few weeks, you could be like, oh God, he's hot and all, but I really don't like this guy. So she kind of has both sides of that, and we'll see where she goes. But yeah, I think she really likes Brandon. Brandon obviously really likes her. And he's getting a hometown date.
He is getting a hometown date.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised by this though. Like,
No.
I think that we saw that Michelle liked Brandon from the beginning. And I think this is jumping ahead a little bit. I think the more surprising person is probably Rodney. Like, I think the other three make sense. I think Rodney slipping in there doesn't make total sense, but I don't think Brandon being in there is shocking. I just think that Nate and Joe are so above everyone else that.
Yeah, absolutely. No cocktail party. Michelle, this woman makes up her mind and she doesn't need
cancel cocktail parties as a whole because they're not happening anymore.
Michelle doesn't need cocktail parties, that's for sure. That's one thing we've learned this season. But of course, Joe gets a rose, and then it's between Rick, Olu, and Rodney for that last rose and that last hometown date. Olu, he's got to know he's not getting a hometown. They haven't even had a one-on-one date. They barely know each other. It's like there's no way you could expect getting a hometown date and not without getting a one-on-one date. So I feel like it was between Rodney and Rick. She ends up picking Rodney, which, yeah, Rhea, like you said, was a little surprising. And I love Rodney. I think he is great, but I would not have been surprised if she had gone with Rick here, because Rick has been very forthcoming with his feelings and really likes Michelle and has said that. And, you know, he seems sad. He was like, I don't know if I'm ever going to meet a woman like Michelle again in my life. She's that great. But Rodney and her seem like they do have that great, like I said, friendship foundation where she's probably trying to see if anything more can come from it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that I was really expecting Rick a bit more than Rodney, but that's no shade to Rodney. Love Rodney. I think he's a great guy, but I think that hometowns, it's really going to come down to Nate and Joe. Obviously, Nate mentioned that he's never brought home somebody to meet his dad. His dad also like told him to never bring home somebody to him.
I don't know where. Yeah,
it's very bizarre.
Yeah.
People have fucked up family situations, obviously, and that's unfortunate for Nate that he has to deal with something like that. And maybe this can be the change in his life that he needs. But I think it's going to be down to Joe and Nate. Yeah,
absolutely. That just feels like it's been that way for the last 5 weeks. We've just been no doubt about it. So that kind of wraps it up. We're going to go into hometowns next week and see what happens, but that's our top 4: Brandon, Rodney, Joe, and Nate. So we will get into hometowns next week. And now we have our interview with Hannah Brown. Have you ever wondered if you have, food sensitivity, or like you want to get tested for these at-home lab? You can get these at-home lab tests that you can check on your health and wellness goals, see what's going on with your body. It's really a great way to check in with yourself and see what's going on. It's information. Information is power. So if you're going into the new year and you felt like this past year, maybe you were eating something that every time you felt like you were getting an upset stomach, or you weren't quite sure what the issue was, Everlywell has these at-home lab tests that are so great. I've done the food sensitivity one to try and just figure out if there's any things that maybe I should avoid. It's so easy. They send it right to you. You take the test, and you send back the sample right back in the box, send it right to them, and then they send you your results. Everlywell offers affordable at-home lab tests that give you trusted physician-reviewed results. They have a bunch of different tests. I did the food sensitivity. You can do food sensitivity, metabolism, sleep and stress, thyroid, and more. So like I said, Everlywell will ship your test straight to your door with everything needed for a simple sample collection. And then you return the test to a CLIA certified lab with a prepaid shipping label. Then your physician reviewed results and insights are sent to your device in just days. Over 1 million people have trusted Everlywell with their at-home lab testing. This holiday, give more of what matters with an Everlywell at-home lab test. For our listeners, Everlywell is offering a special discount of 20% off an at-home lab test at everlywell.com/chicks. That's everlywell.com/chicks for 20% off your at-home lab test. One more time, everlywell.com/chicks.
All right, everyone, we are here with a very special guest. We have Hannah Brown joining us today. Welcome back to the show, Hannah.
Hey, y'all. Glad to be here.
We're super excited. We haven't had you on the show in a while, but it does feel like after Bachelorette and everything, and you talk about it in your book, which we're going to talk about, but you were so incredibly busy. And, you jumped right into Dancing with the Stars and you did all of these things. But now you've had this time to reflect on it. And, I mean, hello, you wrote a memoir. A memoir.
I did.
Memoir. It's a hard word for me. And it's called God Bless This Mess. And it seems like we got to look at it, obviously. And it seems like you really dive into a lot of things in this book. There's a lot of things revealed. I think everyone's going to be very excited to read this.
Yeah.
But I feel like the last two times that we interviewed you were very formal. They were at SiriusXM, and it was like right before The Bachelorette, right after The Bachelorette, and now it's fun to be talking to you over Zoom. It's like way more like we're hanging out. But we want to know what went into the process of writing this book because, like I said, a lot is revealed.
Yeah. When I met you guys, when life was just so crazy, it was like that for 2 years for me. And I started, I got approached to do the book and I was like, yeah, sure. But it was right still January, I think, of 2020. And I was still just so distracted. My life was just one thing to the next. And of course, the pandemic hit, and then so many things happened through 2020 for me. It was I started therapy in 2020, and also started writing a book. And so all I've been is just in my emotions for 2 years. It was really a great way to reflect and do a lot of processing, and being able to do all that processing, that reflection, and then being able to write a book kind of in real time, I think was something unique and special, because it was the first time I've ever done that. And after coming off this roller coaster, but it was intense. And I tell people, I'm I think I maybe have 2 brain cells left. It was just, it was a really tough, but I'm also really proud of the book, and glad that I just spent so much time on it, and really tried to make sure that everything that I put in there was meaningful and impactful. Even though there is some juice and stuff, there's a reason for everything. So yeah, it's just been, it's been a lot. It took a lot of hard work and emotions, trying to process all that was a big part of it all.
I know that everybody kind of always focuses on the most recent stuff, but this is a book about, your entire life. And like you said, you're going to therapy and talking these things out. What affected you the most writing about your childhood and maybe the pageant years? I just feel like sometimes when you're always thinking about what's happening in your life most recently, sometimes you don't go back and think about I wonder what this, when this happened to me at 10, 12, 13, I wonder how much that really impacted who I am right now. And you really talk about those years for you. So like I said, what do you think kind of affected you the most now looking back at those early years?
Yeah. So I have a chapter 5. I talk about a really traumatic experience that happened, that infected my entire family. And it's something that I've never really talked about to anyone. And I remember I just started therapy, was writing the book, and I knew that if I was going to write this book, I was going to have to talk about the events that just shifted my life, but I'd never done it before. And so it was interesting, the writing that went into the book is directly from a journal that I wrote after I'd had like a therapy session. She was like, I want you to write like what this was like what can you remember? And it was so emotional. And I talk about it actually in the book. It kind of like, not just I talk about the events of what happened in the chapter 5, but it kind of comes back around because it really was a healing process for not just me, but my family. Because I knew I needed to write about it because I had, a tragic deaths in my family that were just like kind of unthinkable and hard to share because nobody wants to ever think about something that would happen to my family happens. And so my family really didn't ever talk about it either together. And it wasn't until writing this book that we really were able to all kind of share our emotions and heal from it. So that was probably the hardest thing and the most impactful of the, entire book that made me realize while I was, writing that chapter, like, oh, wow, there's so many layers and patterns from this one moment and not ever truly healing from it, and how that is just like trickled over into so many things in my life. But like I said, it was just it's been so healing, and I hope it is for other people who have maybe experienced the unimaginable, right, to see like how important it is to like have that moment where you feel safe enough to discuss it with someone. Yeah. So yeah,
it sounds like a very therapeutic experience. And I feel like because your life, it was such a whirlwind, right? You get on the Bachelor, Bachelorette, everything changes for you. Dancing with the Stars, you win Dancing with the Stars, all is happening at once. That when you go back and write this book, it almost feels like these things are a different lifetime. Like it wasn't actually you in it, right? Like you're like looking back and you're like, was I even here?
I sometimes I'm like, I'm sorry if you met me during that time because I don't know if I was actually there. Like,
yes.
Yeah, it was, I like watched Dancing with the Stars now, and I watch it with my boyfriend now, Adam, and I'm like, I can't even remember, like, I don't know how I did that now, like knowing the emotional state I was in and everything. But yeah, I feel like in 2.5 years, I lived like 15 years of life. Mm-hmm. That I could have never imagined. And I think that's the thing. It's like, I'm not an actress. I'm not, a singer or something. I haven't been like working for this, what happened to my life, like all this time. And it just all hit me like I didn't know what to do with,
and everything is about you. Like it's not you not acting in a movie or you performing a song. It's like this is everything that's happening to you is about you and your life. So that's got to be a lot. And like everybody wants to know what's happening. And I think that's why this book is so interesting, because there are so many people that are so interested in your life and all the intricate details that you really give in this book.
Yeah. And I feel like I didn't do that for a long time. Like, I think people, yes, I'm very open about my life. I feel like, everybody thinks, oh, like we're best friends. But there's been a lot of things that I've held on to because I wanted to be able to share my story through like my own lens and like the most truthful lens, instead of like, saying a little bit here to this source and a little bit there. And so it, in a sense, was just the first time that I finally got to like be like, no, like you've seen all this, this about me, like, some of the most like personal details of my life, but like, here's the real, like, this is like really what's going on. This is what was happening. And this is what had happened in the past to make you understand maybe why you saw me react or do something this way. And really giving the people that are, interested in my life, like the true, like full scope of everything that I'm about and what I've been through.
There are some jaw-dropping not even stories. It's just like, what was going on. Conversations you had with Peter, Tyler, Jed that are all in this book that, Rhea and I were like, okay, she's telling us and we're reading it and it's happening. What was the process like for that? And did you have to talk to these guys and say, I'm putting this in the book?
Right. Was there warning or you're just doing it? Either way, I respect it. I think everybody,
either way, we love it.
Everybody who listens to this podcast should get this book because I know you're going to want to read what's in there. Because we read it and we were like, whoa.
Yeah. I mean, this is the part where, I think that if I'm talking about my life and I've had these like relationships publicly, I think there is to be like assumed that I'm probably going to talk about them. So no, I haven't I didn't ask for permission, but I also am not putting stories in or what happened in my life to put anybody else out. It's just every story that I put in there, I wanted to make sure I was like, okay, is this just for gossip? Is this just for people to run a headline about? And if it was that, then it wasn't put in the book. Because I had a lot of stuff. Everything that I put in the book, there was for a bigger purpose, maybe something that I feel a lot of girls have experienced that can understand, maybe not into the same degree, but have had these similar situations and feelings and just type of relationships with men. And so what I put in there, I wanted it to really be able to resonate and have an impact of somebody has been in the same position as me and this has happened and how that affected me. But there's definitely some things that are shocking, but I wanted to be as honest as possible. And I think I had to. That's why the past, over a year, I haven't really done much except this book because I needed to take some time to be what the freak just happened?
And also you'll have more to add into the book if you keep doing stuff. You got to finish the book somehow.
Right. You're right. Right. You're 27 years old. You need the book has to end somewhere. But so no, they don't have. I don't know. Maybe right before the book comes out, I'll tell. I was gonna say, have any of them? So none of them have read it yet.
No,
I'm gathering that they don't know.
Oh,
and
my
I will say
goodness
this,
gracious!
I will say this. Like you said, a lot of women can relate to some stories in there because I was reading. I won't reveal what the story was, but there was a story about you and Peter in there that I think is going to be very relatable to a lot of people. Even myself, I was reading it and I was like, "This shit happens to everyone, huh?"
Yeah. That is one of the story. I kind of was like, ugh. But. I talked to some girlfriends and it was this happens all the time. And I think people will just be like, oh, I get it. This, I feel that.
You are right. I think because so many people were tuned in to every detail of your life at that time that you're filling in a lot of blanks for where when Rhea and I read it, it was makes a lot of sense. It's just little clarifying.
Right. And it doesn't leave room for people to make up stories about you because that's a lot of what happens. And a lot of people assume so many things about your life and everybody in Bachelor Nation's lives. It's oh no, this is what happened. They act like they know specifically from a direct source and they just don't. They're making it up. So this gives, like you said, everyone clarity. No, this is my story and I'm telling you exactly what happened.
Yeah. And I think that's another thing is I am a pretty, especially after this 2 years or so, I'm very self-aware. And I think in every, story or part of my life, I also initiate where I have made missteps. It's not all even these relationships with men that I've had that I talk about. it's sometimes what I've allowed in my own life. It's not like no story is to like throw a guy under the like
right.
What is it, under the tracks or whatever, but like
the bus.
I under the bus. That's what it is.
That's what it is.
I told you only have 2 brain cells left.
Yeah.
Under the tracks, on the tracks, under the bus,
yeah.
under
Like,
the train.
They're being run over somehow.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, it's still juicy and interesting. But I feel like I try to take like ownership of my part in the relationships too.
And also, you're in a very happy relationship right now. Like you mentioned, your boyfriend, Adam, you guys are so cute. We see you guys on social media. And I think that when you found this person, everyone was so happy for you because they can feel how genuinely happy that you were. So now it's kind of like these guys, it's like you're not like, you know, still so angry at them, but it's kind of like, this is just what happened.
Right. And I'm not about to make a book pun, but I am like, that chapter has ended and you have moved on.
You just made a book pun.
I made a book pun. I did.
I'm uncomfortable, but I
know.
liked it.
I had to do it because look, this exactly. And you know, you're in this relationship now that obviously from what we can see is great, but it's a lot to talk about, not only the public relationships, but the private relationships. You talked about the relationships you had growing up and how those shaped you and your conversations around sex. I found to be really interesting because I feel like we knew it from watching the show, but not as much background or kind of what you dealt with internally when it came to your sex life being discussed on television and how you kind of came to grips with that with your faith and everything is really, really interesting. And I think a lot of girls will also relate to that too.
Yeah, that was one of the harder things that I think from the outside, maybe it looked like, oh yeah, like I'm sex positive, and not saying that I'm not, but I was just, if you know my back story, I've always kind of had this like, which I think a lot of girls have, like this shame and guilt around having sex. So then having my intimate relationship and experiences like put out there. And then having to own that, and then owning that was really hard because it happened in a way that like I didn't really expect. But then it's like at that point, like, what are you going to do? And even though I'm so thankful that it, like, you know, I've gotten so many messages of how it really helped a lot of women. And for me internally, I was really struggling because then, you know, my faith is really important to me. And I'm like, you know, then being told like I'm a bad example of like who I am as a person, like, you know, being told like I'm not like being questioned my faith because I have had sex and have been like open about it. Like it was just, that was like a really hard thing that I struggled with. And I think, yes, it was kind of talked about on the show and after, but not as intimately because obviously like is a few hours of television. And that wasn't like the biggest thing that was, you know, I mean, it was a big part of the show, but couldn't really understand exactly what was going through my mind during that whole time and how I was really like grappling with like, oh, okay, like I guess I'm doing this thing and I don't know if I really want to step into this like person that's like, oh yeah, I've had sex, I've done this, you know. So yeah, that I feel like that's also something a lot of girls can relate to because like how many times do you remember like a girl in high school, like somebody finding out that they had sex and like how like, you know, detrimental sometimes that could be.
It was huge
for a young girl. Yeah, it was huge. And like, for me, like I talk about, like, it wasn't like I was like super like sexually active before the show. And it's like, oh my God, like, how is this me? I was like, truly like, I mean, like, I just don't know how this is the role that I've stepped into kind of. So, yeah, I think it'll be cool for people to see like my relationships, like growing up. I was also thinking about that yesterday. Weirdly, I'm like, wow, I really talk about like, cause I'm thinking this book's about to come out and going back home for the holidays. And I'm like, all like everybody back home's gonna know who these guys are.
And the Wednesday night before Thanksgiving has a whole different.
Thanksgiving Eve is gonna be fun.
Has a whole different meaning for Hannah this year.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so scared. Like, I'm gonna be doing some like Barnes and Noble, Books A Million, like signings in my hometown. Like, I'm so scared. Like, one of their moms is gonna be there, and I'm gonna be like, "Hi." But it's just, I'm really like, you start looking back, and yes, I'm in like a very happy relationship now. It's like all those relationships like taught me so many meaningful things, and they all kind of like, I'm thankful for all of them. I mean, some of them are like super shitty.
They show you what you want in your new relationship or somebody like, now. Yeah. Because you can always, at least you have examples to base it off of. You're like, I didn't like that they did this, but he does this, and I do like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And Adam's been reading the book. He's like one of the only people that have like, except for like you guys that have read the book. And he was like, it's just really interesting, like to see these parts of you, like kind of in some of these like younger, immature relationships, but how I can see like how all those kind of affected you as you've moved forward. It's like, it's really cool to like be able to read that. And he's like, it's super special so that I can really understand you in a different way. And he was like, this is just such a celebration. Like, I was kind of like, oh my gosh, he's going to read all this stuff about my past relationships, but he's just like the nicest human ever. He's like, it's such a celebration and like a shedding of your past. I'm like, it totally is. And like moving on to this next chapter, but I feel like, going back there and kind of putting the puzzle pieces together of what these past 26 years of life have been is truly like accepting, celebrating what I've learned, but then like shedding, moving forward. And that's a really cool thing that I've had the opportunity to do and have like a piece of it forever that I can look back on.
Absolutely. And you mentioned that you were like, how am I this person, like talking about sex, but I think that you're kind of the perfect example in a way that it wasn't like obnoxious. Like, you weren't like down people's throats being like, I love sex and it's all I care about. You were just like, I'm a woman who has sex and I'm going to do it because I like it. It wasn't like, you know what I mean? It wasn't just like down everybody's throats. It was just like normal.
Yeah. But I guess I was there was just so much shame surrounding it my entire life, and how it kind of like came about. I didn't really know that, how everybody knows I had sex was because I told everybody I looked at the window.
Yep. Multiple times.
I didn't really anticipate that would be, I'll just say anticipate, that was going to be on air.
Right.
I never thought that would be shown. That other than Caitlin Bristow, I knew they would say that I'd had sex, but I already said that on Colton season. Like, I was like, I've done this. But it was still like a really important thing to me. Like, it's not, for me, it's like, it's still a big deal being intimate with somebody. But then of course, like how it was presented on TV, I'm like, oh wow, like we're really, all right, they showed this moment. I should probably call my mom real quick and tell her, like, it was just I don't think, which also good and bad, I don't think I would have stepped into that position had it not been how it happened. But in the same breath, like you said, I think there are a lot of girls who have sex and have just our society or like family or religious beliefs like have so much shame and guilt around it and feel like they're told by men, just like I was, that like there's something unfixable or about you because you've done this one thing. I think it was really actually impactful that it was me. It was just, something I wasn't exactly ready in that moment to. I think looking back, I was just a little scared to be the girl to do that, but at the same, like you said, in the same breath, like really, really proud because it's something a lot of girls can relate to. Mm-hmm. But yeah, man, it was really hard.
Yeah. What was also really surprising to me was reading about kind of like your experience with Dancing with the Stars and how it was sort of like a numbing mechanism almost for you of dealing with your emotions and what was going on privately, and then doing this show that is so competitive and so taxing on you emotionally and physically. And I mean, you won the freaking show, so like you were doing this for months, and now like looking back on your time on the show, how do you kind of feel about it?
Yeah, like I said, the show's going on right now, and I've been watching it, and I honestly, it was too hard. It was both shows that I've been on. It's like hard for me to watch at first. Like I still haven't really got back into any Bachelor stuff yet. It's just that I'm like super excited for Michelle, like wish the best for her, but like for me, it's just not something I can really watch just yet. Dancing with the Stars is a little bit different because it is more like a competition show, but it makes me sad sometimes. Like I'm like, oh, it was so like that experience is so incredible, and I'm so thankful for it. And there were moments of joy for sure, but I was so beaten down and so lost while doing that show that I was like, I need a win. Hannah needs a win, because I felt like I'd lost because I was like, you know, was with Jed and like that didn't work out, and then like was openly like willing to try with Tyler, that didn't work out, and I'm just like, F this, like I'm gonna win, like I need a win. And I just was like, I trained longer than anybody. Like it's all I did. I would go home and cry, eat Postmates, I would get up, do it again, and I was just like, I've got to win. And like that, I write about like that moment that I'm like standing in the final two, like it was just not what I expected it to feel like. And I think that's why I probably wanted to be able to say like winning is not everything. Mm-hmm. Like it doesn't give you that, like I thought I needed that win to feel like, okay, this was all worth it, if that makes sense. Like
yeah.
I put myself out here. I've let everybody see like all these parts of me, and now these broken parts, but like I need to be the girl that like makes it and like wins and shows everybody how strong I am. But like it didn't make me feel that way. It really just made me feel like, okay, well, what am I going to do to distract myself now? Mm-hmm. Because it was like the most all-encompassing, all-consuming distraction I could find. And then I truly was just like, all right, I got to find something else. And then a pandemic hits. And as you read, like when I didn't have a distraction, that's when like I waited so long to kind of figure out what the heck just happened to me. Then I crashed.
Right.
And that wasn't fun. Right. And that was not fun. So yeah, when I look back on that, I'm just like, that I wish I could have just enjoyed it a little bit more. But I'm still like, wow, that was really freaking cool. I did that, like that's like, I am still really proud of myself, but it would like love if I could just go back and just like be in a better mental space, which I would be, and just like have fun. But like I said, I think I was supposed to win and it be that story so that I could like, share that like winning and like having all these things like truly does not give you like any sorts of comfort or peace or happiness. And it's like, you've got to like find that for yourself. Yeah. And, that's kind of what I do throughout this book, and kind of piecing it all together.
I love it because I just think it's also a great message of like nothing really replaces therapy, if that makes sense. Like I think a lot of people use other things and experiences and activities as like, this is my therapy. And in reality, it probably doesn't actually do better than going to therapy.
Yeah. And it's very relatable, even though it's Dancing with the Stars. And it's like not everyone's on Dancing with the Stars, but people do this with sports and other activities. They just completely drown themselves in it because they think it's going to help their brain. But like realistically, and like money and all that, people think that success is going to bring you happiness. But really the only thing is like your brain being healthy.
Yeah. And then it's like, what happens when it stops? Like you hear about so many people. Like for me, it's like, what happens when it stops? What happens when like, if I, which I did, like I valued myself as a person through accolades. And it's like, what happens when it's not that anymore? And there's always going to be a time, like, what do you do? Mm-hmm. And for me, it was like, frick, who am I? If I don't have these, if I'm not winning these things and this certain person that I've tried to like personify for all these years, like then that's a really scary feeling. Yeah. That's a really scary place to be. And I've been there. And I think the only way to fill your life is to kind of go back and like see where the holes are and like be able to patch those up. But that is not it. It's definitely processing the pain is still painful, but it's like you'll never know if you don't do that what it's like to fully be like free in your life. So I would much rather have gone through all the crap and like the freaking hard days that I've had to be able to live like a more like free, fulfilled life now that I've done that. Mm-hmm. And I just think it's super important. And I hope that I've kind of put that through the pages of and showing that through, I've had all these like cool successes, but I've also had some of these like really like made some really bad mistakes too. But it's like understanding that mess and those shit storms and being able to like find the message, the miracle kind of that's in there and being able to like put that in your back pocket and keep moving.
Yeah, we could talk to you about this book all day. I honestly feel like we need like a God Bless This Mess book club session. Yes. We want everyone to read the book, and then we're gonna have to talk about it. I feel like people
talk about it when it's out.
It's like we want to talk about it again. Have you on? Let's talk about it again. Yes. But people should absolutely go buy the book when this comes out. The book will be available. So the book is out November 23rd. When this airs, you will be able to purchase Hannah's book, God Bless This Mess. You're gonna love it,
guys. Get it.
It's really good. I do think there's a lot of people in Bachelor Nation who write books, and we've read a lot of them. And I truly think that like there's ones that you read and you're like, I could have gotten that from their Instagram, exactly. Like it just sometimes feels like you don't get full honesty, and you gave us total, complete honesty, and I really, really respect that. And it's just been great kind of following along recently for you. You seem so happy and healthy, which is so great. So thank you so much, Hannah, for coming back on with us.
So I was truly really excited to be able to do this with y'all because it's been so long since the last time and a lot has changed. So that means a lot to me that y'all enjoyed the book. And I'm just excited for once everybody's read it for y'all to maybe be like, we can actually talk about. I just don't want to tell everybody.
No, we'll give people time. We'll give people time, and then we will talk about this, guys.
And also, from the way we just did that interview, if people aren't like, shit, I got to read this book. I don't know
how else we're gonna sell it
to
you. But it's really good. So everyone, go get Hannah's book. God Bless This Mess, and thank you again, Hannah.
Thank y'all.
All right, that wraps up today's episode of Chicks in the Office. We hope that everyone has a very happy Thanksgiving. Eat all the mashed potatoes in the world. Do not eat an edible. Don't do drugs, kids. Do mashed potatoes.